entitled Karen gets upset because she's not getting her way at the restaurant I work at. And now, after storming out of the restaurant, she's calling back threatening to get me fired with all these horrible false claims about my service towards her. And I honestly am so disgusted, and I'm legitimately worried that I might lose my job. Here's what happened. Now, before I get to the story, you need some information. The restaurant I work at has an all-you-can-eat deal going on right now, and that's per person and can't be shared amongst the table. As well as my management at my company is so company driven, they often side with customers just to keep them silent. So with that preface in mind, let's get started with the story. Tonight, I had a couple come in, and before I could even finish my greeting, this entitled Karen was already talking over me and ignoring my questions from the get-go. When I asked her, "Can I get you started with a Pepsi product?" she immediately cuts me off and says, "Get me a fruit punch." And I respond to her by saying, "Unfortunately, we just have Pepsi products. I don't have any fruit punch." So she then says, "Ugh, fine, I'll just have a Mountain Dew with some water." And when she responded that way, I knew that this lady was gonna be a difficult table. When I turned to the guy and asked to take his order, he asked for a drink on the menu, but grunts and says, "I want that," pointing generically at the drink's direction. It's an alcoholic drink, so I ask him for his ID, and the man hands me his folded closed wallet. Like his full wallet, no joke, as if I'm supposed to just start digging through his wallet to find his ID. So I kindly asked him to take it out for me. He then pulls his ID out. I look at it and I hand it back to him. Because he didn't use any words and only gestures, I forgot which drink he asked for, and I asked to confirm, "You want this one and not the other one, right?" And he looks at me as if I have 30 heads. His wife cuts him off and says, "The slushy one, and just make sure it's extra slushy." I agree and try and keep the peace, and I say no problem, and I'll be right back, and I just walk away. I get their drinks and return to the table, where they proceed to order the all-you-can-eat special that we have, but we're out of one of the particular items. So I explained to him, this particular item is out for the night, but here are some alternatives that you can go for. But this entitled Karen rudely interjects and says, "Well, that's all I wanted, so how am I going to be compensated?" So I say word for word, "Unfortunately, just those 3 items are all you can eat. I can get you one of those if you'd like." She then cuts me off and says, "No, I don't like those." They then start having a conversation between themselves while I'm standing there about what to order next. And in the conversation, I hear them planning on ordering one all-you-can-eat, splitting it between the 2 of them, and then getting other appetizers. Now, if you do this, we as servers aren't supposed to allow you to get any more food, as it's not a buffet, and I have to ring in and bring every plate to you. And sure, do servers follow this rule 100% across the board everywhere? No way. But I follow my rules, because my place is big on the rules, inventory and policy. So trying to be polite, I say, "Just so you guys know, you can order whatever you want, but if you do order the all-you-can-eat, it can't be shared, or you won't be able to order more." This entitled Karen then gets all huffy and rolls her eyes. This Karen then tries to fight it at first by insulting me. She says, I see that you're not one of the cool ones," meaning that I'm not going to be one of those that lets them slide by. Now, just for the record, if they had been nice, and if they had not had the conversation right in front of me, and if they treated me with respect, I probably would have just said screw it and let them share it. But at this point, you told me I wasn't cool. You were rude and condescending, and your tone was argumentative before I even had the chance to say hello. I also didn't want to tell them mid-meal that I can't bring them any more simply because my manager saw them sharing. After I then said that I'm just letting them know ahead of time, she then flips her argument to say, "Well, how do you know that we're going to share it?" And I said to her that she literally just said that you're going to split it, and I just wanted to let you know how it worked around here. They then rolled their eyes at me and went back to looking at the menu. She then said to me, "Why can't you just be one of the cool ones?" And I said, "Sorry, it's just my job on the line, and that's how the promotion works." He tells me that they need a minute and they will have a decision in a few. So I say, "No problem, take your time, I'll be right back." I went to get water for another table and they were gone when I came out of the kitchen. Knowing they walked out, I just said whatever. I knew they were mad at me that I wouldn't break the rules for them, but I didn't think there was any other issue. As they walked out, they walked by another exit to the building, and the door had opened while I was ringing in an order, which the computer touches the exit door. They were within earshot when the door opened, and I gave them a little wave and said, "Have a good night, guys." Honestly, not having a second thought about it. Not even 5 minutes later, someone said there was an angry customer on the phone. My manager took the call, and I sort of knew it was her. My manager came out and told me she was screaming on the phone, This entitled Karen claimed that I was being rude, that I snatched the ID out of her husband's hand and threw it back at him. Apparently, according to her, I had an attitude and was very insulting, and that I had accused them of wanting to share for no reason, and that I chased them out of the restaurant. And that's all because I waved to them and said, "Have a good night." Now, my managers are huge about never chasing a customer out, and if I understood why or the extent of what made her mad, I probably would not have said, "Have a good night." But she was not happy with the way I handled it or the way my manager handled the situation, and that she was going to write an email to my store just so my manager and district managers could see. In the moment, it wasn't a problem, but after I heard her complaints, I get it. I'm not saying I was the picture of customer service either, but after being cut off a few times, I stopped the customer service BS, and I just started to reply with a yes or no answer as needed. And now I'm worried that I seriously might lose my job, but if I do lose my job because she writes an email, it will be honestly very funny for me later. As a server, I should have known better, and I should not have told them good night from the door. It was mostly out of habit because I try to say it to every table on their way out. So if that's what does it and makes me lose my job, then so be it. But it will all be whether or not it's transcribed in her email, if I chased her out of the restaurant or not. My managers have zero tolerance for that stuff, and I'm honestly not sure what's gonna happen to me next, all because of this entitled